I'm Thuranki Ramacharaka, and here's another story from my book called Wild and Free on the Lower East Side, written in 2004. The action in this story, which is called Wild Ride, I guess took place in about 1980 or 81. It has an opening picture of a hell car driver, thrill show car shooting out of a tunnel like a rocket. And there's an opening quote by Hunter Thompson from Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. The quote is, "The possibility of physical and mental breakdown is now very real. Buy the ticket, take the ride." And again, this story is called Wild Ride. I should have made it into the news for turning my cab uptown onto Fifth Avenue because Fifth Avenue only runs in the downtown direction. That's like turning head on into the jet stream, or like heading upriver at spawning time. But I pulled through the block alive while kind of hiding my face. Riding in my cab always involved suspense. Sometimes too much political suspense happened. And for good reasons, I threw people out of my cab. For example, I didn't like groups of people using foreign languages in the back seat. As far as I felt concerned, anybody speaking tongues in my back seat was planning to rob me. I wore a large knife while on duty in case anybody tried carrying through with it. I would pin anybody's hand to the back of my seat, anybody who reached over it for my money. Hey, just getting people rapidly and safely from point A to point B was suspenseful enough. Doing tight squeezes, erratic turns, and close calls as my job. You have to keep people on their toes. It's an art. I started driving the cab when I quit working as a bicycle messenger. One day I had watched 3 messengers get creamed on the streets by 3 different hell-bent cab drivers. And that was all before lunchtime. Pieces of bicycle went everywhere. A few pieces of one of the cabs came off. Those pieces are called cabbage. Driving a cab in New York City is a great and special thing to do in life. No other profession gives you that view of people, the city, life, and the world. Driving a limo also involves a sense of hardcore reality in action, but driving a cab has it with less formalities and longer hours usually. Manhattan is a choice location for driving a cab if you want to experience the world in an impressive and unique way. Now, one night at about 11 p.m., an old lady stood on the curb on Park Avenue and stretched out her wobbly arm as I approached in my cab. When I saw her wrinkled skin in her fur coat and jewelry, I imagined that she kept company with about 100 yapping little poodles all named Peppy. She had the classic look of a rich, hard-assed old widow whose husband had taken over the world and then had died and left her all the money and left her the Park Avenue apartment that they'd probably had for about 50 years. And now, these imaginary 100 yapping poodles are all that keep her alive. Well, I don't know about the poodle part, but I had figured her attitude all wrong. This old lady was my kind of woman. She got in and sat in the middle of the back seat. I told her to wear her seat belt, but she said it wasn't worth a damn for what she wanted. At that point, I thought she wanted sex. And I tried to imagine having sex with her. Maybe deep down inside somewhere, the thought intrigued me to an extent. But out on the surface, I wanted to change the subject. She saved me, though. She said, "Sonny, I want a wild ride. I come out here every night at 11 o'clock and get a cab for a wild ride. All day I sit upstairs alone and bored since my husband died years ago. And all the people in traffic confuse me during the daytime, so I come out at night for my excitement. My cab rides are all I have in life anymore. So step on it hard and bring me back here in a half hour so I can go to bed. I just want a wild ride. Well, as she started telling me this, I pulled out slowly, respecting her age. But by the time she finished her request, I had the right picture due to my own experience. I had gone to Coney Island many times, and I would swim in the ocean and then go up onto the pier and ride the rickety old roller coaster to dry off. The Cyclone roller coaster, but mostly to thoroughly rattle my skeleton I would do it. So you see, I understood this woman. She wanted her skeleton rattled. So I slammed the pedal to the floor. I ran through every pothole I saw. I slid around turns onto side streets and barreled down them like we had a fire to get to. I looked in my rearview mirror and I saw old Grandma back there bouncing around hard enough to crack loose her calcium deposits. Then I experimented with taking sharp turns at more dangerous speeds. I thought she'd break her hip or her head or something. But when I asked if she was still okay, she told me to stop fooling along or I wouldn't get a tip. Well, I really cut loose now. I drove full speed toward red lights and then slammed on the brakes, skidding until stinking tire smoke rolled up around the sides of the car. Grandma whacked her head on the back of my seat once, and before lights turned green, I burned out like a dragster and gave Grandma straight hair and a facelift. On we went, changing 4 lanes at a time and back again. She slid violently from one back door to the other. She thrashed around so bad that her arms flopped like pigtails. And through all of this, I noticed her stern look softened to contentment. I wondered, what kind of sex did her husband and his friends used to do to her? I delivered her back to her building a half hour later. As we eased up to the curb, she handed me $60 and told me to keep the change. Well, the fare was only about $40, so I got a nice tip out of it. She told me that she would be there again the same time every night. I looked for her, but I never saw her. I wonder what happened to her. Maybe her first ride with me did her in for good. I hope not. The important thing is, I hope she enjoyed her wild ride the whole way through life.